Welcome back to Marshall County Today, the new talk show aimed at informing you about stories, people, and businesses around your neighborhood. And we save the best for last. Greg Hildebrand, Marshall County Economic Director,
I don't
is
know
here.
about
How
that.
you doing, my friend?
Good, good. I don't know about the best for last.
Well, thank you for coming in today.
Hey, no, my pleasure. I like to do more often, but I things come up and I
Boy,
just
I hear you. Well, preacher, when you're busy, you're busy. You know,
yes.
not much you can do about that.
No.
All right, so what's happening? I mean, what's the latest that we can talk about here?
I've got my year-end, my annual report all done. I'll be going around doing a road show here probably this coming month,
Good.
talking to all the community councils, county, filling everybody in. Um, we had a good 23. We had $170 million in capital, investment in the county. That's compares pretty well. I mean, that's a good year. The big uptick in that is $20 million added to our payrolls locally.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, yeah. We used to track things by the number of jobs that they were expected to create. Um, that's probably not as important of indicator for us as that income, because typically we have quite a few unfilled jobs just because our we have our census hasn't grown. We've been pretty stagnant.
Right.
You look at our unemployment compared to the counties around us, and we're now this month is a kind of a little aberration, but typically we're at or below the state unemployment numbers.
No, that's good news.
So we're not as concerned with creating new jobs as we are increasing that per capita income, and we've been looking at that.
So, of late, a lot of the hot topic is about creating housing.
Yes, yes.
And so, where does that fit in for you guys?
That's a very important part of what we do. While we're typically not focused on creating housing, but housing helps us to create the population and the workforce that the employers are looking for. Um, we do have a large number of people that commute into the county for work. Of course, we'd like to have them all living here
Sure,
if we could,
yeah.
but we just need more investment in housing of all types, And it's not just typically when you hear housing projects or housing initiatives. First thought is at that entry level, low income, assisted housing market, and we actually do need housing at all levels.
Right.
One of the things we do is we have what we call business retention expansion interviews with our employers in the county. Last year we did 30 plus of those interviews. We've changed our program to where we're going to do about that number every year. Instead of doing a random sample every third year, we're doing a third every year so that we're touching base with everybody within 3 years. And one of the things that came to light, while it wasn't a specific question that we asked, it was in these conversations came to light that there's a large number of our owners, CEOs, the high office personnel at these employers that don't actually live in Marshall County. We have quite a few of them commuting from Granger,
Right.
Syracuse, things of that nature. We really would like to have those people located in Marshall County for a couple. One is, of course, is that high income,
Right.
and that disposable income that they have.
Right.
That generates a lot of economic activity for us. The other one is decision making. When you live in a community and you're spending time and your kids are playing on the same teams and you're bumping into your workforce at the grocery store,
Sure.
it's a little bit different mindset and a little different decision making than when you're located in a third location and now they're just employees.
Right. They're just there because they got to work there.
Well, and it's I've got 120 employees and I really only need 80.
Right,
But
yeah.
when you can put the faces on those other 40,
Right.
it makes
Right.
it a little different.
That's challenging.
It is. It is
That's challenging to do, and a lot of it is based on the mindset we have now.
yeah. Yes.
You know, and you know, a lot of people sit here and they say, "Well, we need to do this and we need to do that." Yeah, okay. How do you propose and convincing people that, well, you need to be part of this
Right.
for us to do what you want us to do?
Well, and that's the thing. We need to, and I've talked before about there's a different decision making process that goes into where you live anymore. I mean, at one time
Yeah.
it was all,
Yeah.
you know, I'm working in Plymouth. I want to live in Plymouth because I want to, you know. Now you can work in Plymouth and live in Granger or live in Syracuse, and it's not really that inconvenient. What we want to do is make those amenities and those living what they're desiring here in Marshall County, so that they want to live and stay here in Marshall County. And we're working at it. There's a lot of different initiatives. I know I bumped into you at the streetscape, you know,
Right.
and that's part of it. You know, that streetscape, that walkability, making it retail mix. You know, because um, when an employer looks at that CEO office or that you know top suite, um, they've not only got to attract that employee, but their employee spouse and family.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we have CEOs that you know live in or work in Plymouth, work in Marshall County, but their spouse would prefer to live
Mishawaka.
Mishawaka.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what it.
And it's here's why it's so difficult to do what you do. It's because Plymouth is not a Mishawaka, and Plymouth is not a Warsaw. Plymouth
Right.
is not a Valparaiso. Plymouth is not a Rochester. Um, and listen, not that any idea is a bad idea, because I
Right.
subscribe to that. Any idea could be a good idea. The question is whether or not you can execute it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's tough. You can do all the comparisons you want, but people in Goshen behave differently,
Right.
think differently. They and they either have been lifelong Goshenites, or they just moved in and they like the layout of the land. As
Right,
opposed, if we were to say, well, come to Plymouth,
Right.
you never know who or whoever you're trying to get in, what their thinking is, or what they envision that they want to be living in.
Right. And it's tough to look at, you know, any individuals. There's just, you know,
You can't really do it,
right.
to be
You know,
honest
you
with
have to look at what overall, what are
Right.
some of the overall amenities or things that people are looking for. And when I use amenities, sometimes I catch myself, and by that, you know, your first thought is trails, recreation, golf courses, retail mix, diners, entertainment things. Some of those amenities that people are looking for are like uh, utilities such as water, sewer. You know, I mean, there's housing subdivisions up in Granger that are having difficulties because when they developed it on well and septic, and that isn't necessarily what you know. When you're spending that kind of money on a house, you'd like to have I'll just
Want
pay
everything working.
I want it convenient. I'll just pay a little fee every month,
Yeah, exactly.
and you know, and I don't have to worry about all
Right.
that. So those are things that you know when I talk about amenities, you know, broadband, you know, is something that is almost a necessary utility anymore. You know, so how are we providing that? And there's a broad mix of things like that. Schools, quality of schools is a big one. You know, and that isn't a knock on any of our schools. They're all really good quality schools, but we need to make sure that people are aware of that and
Right.
make sure they're good.
And which kind of goes into what your responsibility is, and that is
Right.
making sure you know what the schools are doing. If there's new things that they're trying to create, more kids coming in, that's something you need to build on and help them.
And help the schools also. What is it that industry? What is it that the workforce
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
looking for? You know,
Yeah.
because I hear all sorts of gee, you know, we hire these kids, and we have to start it. You know, they can't even read a tape measure or something,
Right.
or even some of the soft skills. And I've heard there's big improvements coming down as far as, you know, I'm on the board of visitors for Ancilla, and Ancilla, one of the things I learned last night at our board meeting was that they now have a etiquette handbook, a etiquette protocol, because, you know, you look at the kids that are going to Ancilla, and some of the, you know, I wouldn't say they're not traditional, but they're just, they have a lot of first generation college, you know, so they didn't get that coaching that
Right.
maybe you and I got, you know, as far as, hey, when you go to class, you're not in your pajamas. You don't
Right.
have your hoodie tied up around your face.
Well, it's funny you mention that because, you know, Dr. Tucker was on here, was it yesterday or the day before?
Yeah.
And we kind of talked about a little bit about that. And, you know, she used the word adaptive,
Yeah,
and that's a key word.
yeah, yeah.
That's a key word for anybody,
Right.
to be honest with you. Sometimes you just got to adapt
Yeah,
and then work.
right.
Because today's kids, and you know, we're just talking this specifically right now for this very second, but today's kids think differently than what you and I
Yeah,
think.
well, yeah.
You
I
know,
tell
and-
people all the time that when you and I were growing up, when there was a job, when one of the employers put out a help wanted sign, there'd be a line around the block for two positions. You know, nowadays, and this whole generation has grown up with employment under what we would have considered full employment. So that their attitude is a lot different towards jobs. You know, hey, if this one doesn't work out, there's 5 more out there I can get. You
Right.
know, and
Well,
if
and
I
yet-
don't see advancement in my career, I'm moving on. You know,
And another great example of the difference from you and I to today's generation is how much they think they're worth when they're starting a job.
yeah,
And here's why this affects, you know, folks like you that got to, you know, who are trying to help this,
Yeah.
help industries find people to work for them, is, you know, what the industry thinks they need to be worth in order to get them started to work for them is different than what
Right.
the kid actually feels like.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you got to figure out to adapt
Yeah.
to maybe finding either a middle ground or maybe some other incentive. I mean, it's just so different now. And
a recent college grad in like human resources or finance or something is a world of difference between them and a 5-10 year experienced human
Yeah.
resources person.
Yeah.
You know, and kids don't. I think they think they're getting trained for a position. You know, like, so I know it. I graduated with a degree in human resources. I'm ready to go. Well, you are, but
pump the brake here.
we need to. You know,
You need to know that you're working for somebody who
Right.
does things differently than the way you think.
right.
And you know, I think what we're doing with, especially with our schools, Plymouth is doing a good job. Triton is doing a great job. That those internship programs that
Yeah,
the kids get credit for. I mean, that molds them into what their future job will be.
Well, the education as a whole is moving towards the workplace experience,
Yeah.
gaining, you know,
Yeah.
workplace education, and there's a lot of value in that, in just exposing them to, you know, sure, you can show up to class in pajamas and your earbuds in and a hoodie up, but that's not going to fly in
You gotta go
too
to
many
job, yeah.
jobs, you know, unless you're holed up somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, again, all these are factors that you've got to deal with and take into consideration when
Right,
the
it's-
economic department. But at the same time, you're trying to find businesses to convince that Plymouth is the place you need to come and invest in.
And the number one question that we're asking is what's the workforce like? Where
Exactly right.
who am I going to employ? Where am I
Right.
going to get the people I need? And that's where that housing element comes back in. You know, is that if you come in and you say I've got 200 jobs, you know, where are you going to find those 200? And what am I going to have to pay to get those 200?
Exactly right.
These are our questions, and so we're working there. There's some large projects close by, of course. I don't have to tell you about the EV plant over in New Carlisle.
Right.
You know, that's going to be 1,400 jobs. That's going to take people from typically those types of pay positions in that range. They're telling me, I was talking to the Rivian plant down in Champaign, Bloomington, Urbana area there, that they typically commute 90 minutes. That's not unusual for them to have employees commute. And we've talked to some of our employers here, and it's amazing what some people will commute. We have machinists that are coming from, I know that Angola, there's an individual that's driving here from Angola. Kokomo's not unusual, so
That's crazy.
we are in the mix of the Kokomo plant and the New Carlisle plant.
So, does that also mean our labor force? I'm just going to say it, and it's not going to be good what I'm going to say. Okay, but does that mean our labor force is lacking the ability in the educational part of things? I mean, because when I'm hearing someone wanting to drive 90 minutes to a job, that's someone who wants to do that job, loves doing that kind of job, and yeah, they know that obviously he's not going to take that kind of job if he can't afford it, especially
Right.
transportation.
Well, and that's the thing is it's paying at a level and it's doing what he likes to do that or she that they um, uh, for whatever reason are living in one location and they got to work in another and they don't feel like cutting that commute down is worth it. Now, of course, you and I know that it is.
Yeah.
Marshall County is a wonderful place to
Yeah,
locate,
absolutely.
and you and I don't think either one of us would drive half that distance
No.
to go
No,
to
I
work.
wouldn't.
So
I wouldn't.
it's different, but I'm just saying that's the type of. In order to get the labor pool, that's how far out they look.
So is it?
Well, I guess back to your original question: are we educating our workforce? Are we not supplying the educated work? It's more of an issue of them not being available. It's not that they aren't prepared for jobs. Now there's some work we can do to help prepare. Don't get me wrong. I hear that all the time too. But I think most of it's just not. It's a numbers situation where they're looking for specific talent, and just in order to get that talent, they've got to look out farther. Um, that is the number one issue facing our employers today is workforce, but not the entry level starting positions. That's improved somewhat. Our workforce participation numbers are coming up. More people are getting into workforce. The issue they're having is that trained individual, somebody that's trained and
So you
has
don't have
the
to
skills.
spend time training someone.
Well,
Right?
and yeah, exactly. So that's where improving our quality of life to attract people back here. That students that have gone away to college don't. Not a large number of them come back. Indiana is one of the top states in the nation for educating college graduates. We have enough colleges and large schools that producing college graduates is not the issue. Retaining those college graduates, we are at the bottom almost. I mean, we're in the bottom
Tier, yeah.
tier of states. So we have we're exporting college graduates. There's a couple reasons.
That's an interesting.
There's a couple
Stat.
reasons for that. One is that Purdue started it. As you know, Mitch Daniels is very good at keeping the in-state tuition
Right, even.
Even.
Yeah, consistent.
and one of the ways he did that was increasing the number of out-of-state students that were coming into Purdue, and their tuition went up, and they were, and so that as that mix of in-state, out-of-state, all the institutions have caught on to that now. So now Indiana, all Ball State, everybody has a larger number of kids coming in or students coming in from out. Not all of them, but a large percentage
Right,
of them.
yeah. It's a good chunk.
The mix has changed.
Yeah.
That it's not mostly in-state and a few out-of-state. It's swapped. So that of course is going to lead to some of that exodus. And then secondly is that quality of life issue that people make location decisions based on the quality of life they're after. They'll find a job at that location. The first thought they have is, where do I want to locate? you know, what has the amenities, the lifestyle I want to lead, and I'll find a job doing whatever when I get there.
And it seems, and you know, if you're that particular town, that you would love to be in the mix for when someone's trying to make a decision where to locate and hunker down as a resident, you know, everybody's wondering, why are we spending money on pickleball courts? Why are we, this is why.
Yeah, this is
This is
exactly why.
exactly why. Because it's now part of a conversation with
Right.
people who are looking to locate
Right.
and settle down in a town.
Yeah.
There's so many other things, you know, and that's why
The trail issue, you know, people are looking
That's
for
huge.
walkability, bikeability.
that's huge
You know,
now.
you know, quality schools is always up there. It will always will be. But what some of the other things are activities. You know, what activities are recreational activities? What's your retail mix? What your healthy lifestyle? You know, what's your health? You know, do you have the
Right.
doctors and that? You know, so yes, it does concern me what's going on locally with our medical. We are involved in
It
helping to
should.
take care of that. But that once again, that's also that rural doctors as a whole are tough to recruit because you know if you went to that kind of school and you put that kind of the time and energy into getting a physician's license,
You
have
paid as
you
a
want to be
physician,
paid
right?
and you also want to live the lifestyle. You know,
Absolutely.
so and a rural lifestyle is a tough lifestyle to sell. You know, there are great aspects of it, and honestly, some of our best opportunities are for that next, maybe not those recent college grads, but those recently married families starting. You know, which is starting to happen a little later in life. Everything you hear, you know,
Right,
people
yeah.
are getting married later. They're not having as many kids, unfortunately, but they are still. And where do they, you know, I have three young people in my family, and none of them live in Marshall County. But I have a feeling that maybe someday they'll come back. But they all live in more metropolitan.
Right.
One lives in downtown Indy. One is traveling to different cities all through he's fortunately he and his girlfriend are both remote workers, so they can
Go wherever they want,
They can
yeah.
go wherever they
Yeah.
want. They're trying out different cities, you know, and boy, I wish I was 25
Yeah,
again.
amen to that one, brother. Amen to that one. Well, hey, gosh, you need to come back.
I will. I'll make this
you
a
need to come
regular.
back 'cause
Yeah.
there's all kinds of things we can sit and dissect
Yeah.
and one of the main reasons why I wanted to come on again is to kind of give people an idea that, you know, what your job is, what it entails, and things you've got to do, things that we've got to look at. That when people say, "Well, we're not attracting enough people," well, there's reasons for that.
Well, and yeah, economic development has changed a lot in the last decade or so, and at one time, yeah, it was a matter of marketing, what buildings were available, what building sites were available, you know. But now it's
And
they
this
they
and
want to
that.
know, hey, it's great that you have this building site or this building. How am I going to fill full workers? Where are they going to come from?
Exactly.
And why would my CEO want to live there? You know, who am I going to get to run that plant?
Right.
So that's part of what
It's
we
challenging. Very challenging. Well, Greg, thank you for being here.
do. Oh,
Thank
thanks
you
for having me. I really
And we
appreciate
look
it.
forward to having you on here
Yeah.
down the road real soon.
Yeah, no, good.
Greg Hildebrand joining us here on the show as we save the best for last as we are out of here for today. And thank you for joining us. Have a great week. And boiler up. That's right. I said it. Boiler up as the Boilermakers in the big game. I just want them to win because I got tickets to Sunday. So they just need to win tonight. That's all. Not more, not less. All right, we're out of here. Thank you for tuning in to Marshall County Today. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll be back at it on Monday morning for the show.